The challenge for HR today is in stepping beyond that traditional role, taking off the traditional hat. Those who succeed moving forward in the HR space will be those that are not just HR professionals, but data scientists, citizen developers, community organizers, therapists, and navigators.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Anushka Rajesh at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Rebecca Wettemann, the CEO of Valvar. Rebecca is a tech analyst and thought leader with expertise in product development, go-to-market, M&A, marketing and PR, and digital transformation strategy. She holds deep expertise of cloud, customer relationship management, human capital management, and analytics and AI technology and strategy. We are so thrilled and honored to have someone of her stature today on our interview series. Welcome, Rebecca. It's an absolute honor to have you here.
Well, thank you.
The pleasure is absolutely ours. Okay, so for starters, Rebecca, the first question I'd like to ask you is, we'd really like to know about your journey so far and the great work that you do and what has really helped you land today where you are. And, just like in a nutshell, the most important learnings that you'd like to share with our audience.
Sure. So I've been a technology industry analyst and followed the human capital management and people app space for more than 20 years now. Have worked in the public and private sector as an advisor and analyst, as an individual contributor, as a team leader, as a project manager, and a lot of different roles. And I think if there's one thing that translates across all of them that I would share with you, it's that spreadsheets are your friend. I don't mean that because we need to spend all of our day in spreadsheet, but whenever you're planning a path, making a decision, or trying to weigh the risks of a situation, having a way to structure your thinking, a spreadsheet is a great way to go. Laying out in a spreadsheet the pros and cons, the expected risks and benefits, the things that you want to make sure that you think about, help you to take more risks because you can take more educated risks. And I think that's an important part of moving forward. And two, I think that having that data-driven focus, even though if we recognize that the spreadsheet maker may be biased, at least having that structure around it helps us identify our own biases and understand where our blind spots may be.
That's great, and a huge congrats on your success. You've had such a wide variety of roles and experiences, so that's absolutely great, commendable.
I've had a lot of great opportunities. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're so thrilled to have you here.
Thanks.
Going to the second question, Rebecca, while many HR professionals these days are accepting that employee engagement and upskilling is the need of the hour, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sure that must have some kind of impact on the company's budget as well. So, from your technical expertise in the matter, would you like to, shed some light on that aspect?
Sure. So when we think about training and upskilling, it's an interesting area of the overall HR picture. We recently published a study and we looked at HR spending and priorities. And we asked people sort of what they were spending in January versus what they were planning to spend in August, September, and beyond. And what we found was companies are spending an average of $40 per employee per month on HR technologies and services. About 2/3 of companies say that has been unchanged since the beginning, January 2020, but they're spending an average of $7 per employee per month on reopening and remote work efforts, meaning that while a lot of budget haven't changed at all, we've chunked out a big piece for expenses that weren't in the budget before. So that's a challenge. Certainly you have to look at areas like training and reskilling where there may not be budget or even less budget available than before. I think it's important though to recognize that a lot of investments in training historically haven't necessarily been the best money spent. We've looked more at checking the boxes around particular areas of requirements for training rather than how do I focus training on a specific employee's needs, helping them to upskill, helping them to fill skills gaps, and identifying opportunities that they might be best for. And that's why when we look at training moving forward, I think we have to look with a new eye at cloud-based applications, at those that can deliver more personalized and targeted training to an individual. Those can look at their resume and identify where their skills gaps are and align that with training opportunities that may be there. One of the areas that I've been looking at a lot, by way of an example, is Salesforce Trailhead. And if we think about a cloud-based platform that is very much HR technology agnostic and free to end users, what we found is that the decentralized nature, the advantage of networks, the ability of artificial intelligence, the ability to access it from anywhere means that unlike traditional sort of training opportunities, we find 50% of users are using it to gain skills that get them either a promotion or a raise. 2/3 of them are using it to find other people that they can give advice to, that they can be mentors to. And 54% are using it to find collaborators or mentors that are beyond their company and even beyond their sector in terms of industry. So when we look at training and reskilling moving forward, I think we have to think about going beyond the walls of the traditional HR learning environment and thinking about cloud, decentralization, and how we can leverage things like AI to make targeting training much more personalized for an individual employee or an individual group.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that. So just a follow-up question, do you believe that HR tech, especially with AI and chatbots, are really going to make the human and human resources no longer relevant?
Oh, not at all. I think that what we see today is that HR is drowning in data. We have so much data. And in fact, 2/3 of companies have tasked HR with gathering new types of data since the beginning of this calendar year. So more and more HR is inundated with data. What they don't have is that magic spreadsheet. What they don't have is the way to structure that data, use it to make quick decisions, use it to prove the value of their decisions, and use it to really think more intelligently about employee engagement and context moving forward. So I don't see AI and RPA as a replacement to HR by any means. But I see it as a way to manage by exception, to target and personalize services engagement for specific employees and groups of employees, and really to help HR take advantage of the vast amounts of data they have today that they don't have the time or the bandwidth to effectively leverage to their advantage.
Got it, got it. So you mean more like an enabler than a replacer, right?
Exactly. There's an opportunity for the personal assistant within HR that helps every HR person with all of the numbers they wish they knew, all the data they wish they had, being able to bring that to their fingertips in a meaningful way.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much for that wonderful insight there, Rebecca. Going on to the third question, you know, HR technology has certainly evolved over the past decade, and it's constantly in its evolutionary process. So in your opinion, what do you think are the most important features, you know, that are set of an HR platform, and how can organizations, you know, really help scale those features?
Sure, sure. Well, first and foremost, it has to be cloud. You know, we've been watching the cloud argument go on for a number of years, and the harsh reality is cloud is not only cheaper and faster to implement initially, it has lower ongoing costs, but most importantly, it has that ongoing flexibility. It has the ability for companies to take advantage of both the innovation vendors deliver and changes in their own business environment, to be able to make changes and make that application more flexible and adaptive over time. Now, there's still people who will say that there are reasons not to go cloud. My response to them is, if you plan to never change, never shift, and you know exactly what your company is going to be doing and what the market is going to be doing for the next 10 years, an on-premise application is perfect for you. Otherwise, you need the agility and the flexibility of cloud. Now, one of the advantages with cloud that we have to make sure we leverage is the ability to get more benefit from the vendor over time. So as vendors continue to make investments in areas like AI and robotic process automation and bring those capabilities in the platform, we need to be able to take advantage of them. And I would say that given the vast amount of data in HR applications and systems, as well as the behavioral data that we're now able to gather and capture, the opportunity for AI and RPA are things that HR should be looking very, very closely at as they consider HCM applications as well.
Wow, that's great. That's actually a fresh perspective. We've not really gotten that insight from another influencer as yet. So thank you for that. And also HR leaders today are really facing the heat, especially ever since the pandemic has struck. And resilience is the quality that really triumphs. So in your opinion, what is your advice to these leaders who feel lost at such a point in time?
Sure. I mean, it's a tough time for everyone, but I think sometimes we see showing uncertainty or a lack of knowledge as a weakness. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. There are great opportunities for HR right now to have collaboration and partnership with other areas in the organization. Those doors are open today because of the need to coordinate broad work reopening and work safety policies, for example. Those doors are open today more than ever before. But it's an opportunity for HR to not just communicate out and down, but open communication, and not be afraid to ask for help, to ask for advice, to say things that you don't know. To ask IT, for example, 2/3 of companies have low-code and no-code tools that are great for automating our HR processes that HR may not even know about, that may be sitting in IT. If you're not asking those questions, if you're not asking for advice, that information is not going to be offered. I think the other thing for HR is don't be afraid to relinquish some control. If we look at some of the innovations that are happening on the edges, they're in talent marketplaces that may sit outside the organization. They're in areas like Trailhead, which are completely HR and HCM agnostic. It's important to recognize the opportunities that may be there. One of the other areas that we see around control is around enabling employee volunteerism and employee philanthropy. Putting those applications in place so that employee champions can take the reins of their causes can help reduce the burden on HR, give them better data on corporate social responsibility and what employees are doing in the volunteering space, but it means letting go a little bit.
Right, absolutely. And I really like the point where you said question more and don't be afraid to question. I think that's really the need of the hour today.
There are no dumb questions.
Absolutely. So kind of coming to our second last question, Rebecca, being a technology analyst and as someone who has worked in this industry for so long with so much diverse experience, what would you say is the scope of tech in HR and how it will really change the future of work as we know?
I think if we look across all the pillars of technology that support the business, whether it's supply chain, finance, customer relationship, or human capital and HR management, the biggest opportunity for change, the biggest opportunity for disruption is in the HR space. It's the area where we have the most data, the most interesting data, the most contextual data about employees, about human beings that we can use to drive decision making. That means we have to be able to bring that data in context. That means that we have to start look at how do we analyze conversational data, for example, to have a broader understanding of employee sentiment beyond just the employee survey. And that's where we can really use artificial intelligence and robotic process automation to increase our understanding, to reduce bias in processes. And I know there's some debate about that, but at the very least, to increase visibility into how we're managing those processes using technology so that we can have greater visibility into what bias there may be and help us to have more data-driven decisions.
Absolutely. And the fact of actually reducing and eliminating bias in the workplace really calls for fostering a better, diverse, and inclusive work environment. So it ties to that as well. So that's great. Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's so much we can do, and we have to be careful, and there's certainly debates about artificial intelligence and what bias may be ingrained in AI, and certainly the AI is unbiased as the model that it's built on. But I think there is a huge opportunity for us to leverage AI and RPA to increase visibility into those processes, which is a great way of ensuring there is more equity and more inclusion.
Absolutely. Couldn't second you more on that. Finally, just to kind of wrap this interview up, Rebecca, do you have any last sound bites for our audience?
I think we're in an area of great challenge, but also great opportunity. The challenge for HR today is in stepping beyond that traditional role, taking off the traditional hat. Those who succeed moving forward in the HR space will be those that are not just HR professionals, but data scientists, citizen developers, community organizers, therapists, and navigators. And I think it takes a very, very special skills. The great news is for those that are willing to ask questions and ask for help, there's a lot of great technology, a lot of opportunity out there, and a lot of opportunity to grow their role in the organization and grow their effectiveness as well.
Absolutely. It's really on leaders to transform the adversity into opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great, Rebecca. It was an absolute honor talking to you today. I got so many fresh insights from you, and I feel if I can benefit so much in a 20-minute interview, our audience are surely going to learn a lot as well. So thank you so much.
Appreciate the insightful questions, and it was an absolute delight to be with you.
Likewise. You take care and have a safe and healthy time ahead of you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Anushka, thank you. Take care.
Yes, take care. Bye-bye.